Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the stream. I hope you've all had a wonderful holiday season and very Merry Christmas. I know we did. Me and my partner, we spent it going out and visiting some family that didn't expect to spend time with. It's my mom's side of the family, and I'm not real close with them, and I expected that since I wasn't going with my mom this year that I wouldn't have much to say or feel much at home, but I actually got to talk a lot with them, more so than usual, and they really made me feel appreciated. So, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Really turned my usual level of cynicism with them on its head. So, that was a nice time. Something else I've been up to is that it feels like this entire month I've just been writing non-stop. I finally finished all the Retrosh developer commentary posts. Most of you all saw that, I'm sure. Oh, hey, William Frog, welcome to the stream. It's good to see you. And, I finally finished all those posts. I was going to write, like, my top 5 games of the year and just write a little blurb for each one, but that ended up spiraling into a whole post-series, one for each game, and then some extra stuff on top of that. And then, I also had one other post to write about at the end of the year, you know, like this year in review resolutions type of wrap-up thing, and then that ended up going really long and splitting into 2 posts, and just like, when does it end? When does it end? When am I done writing? No, I did this to myself, and I'm actually really happy to be writing a whole lot more. There was a period of time where I just felt totally, burnt out on writing. And I wouldn't call it writer's block so much as I just didn't have words anymore. So it's nice to have the writing flowing again. It's good that I have things to say and they're not just said on air in front of people. I can write them out and take my time and think about what I really want to say before I commit it to everybody else seeing it. I've had that blog for 10 years now. Let me double check those numbers. 11 years as of last month. And I don't think I've ever written more in 1 year than I have, like, this year. Since the blog started, it's kind of incredible. Last time I also talked about how I streamed more this year than ever. Certainly got a lot done this year, and it's been a very introspective time for me, thinking about how much I got done and why it got done, and what I can do to bring that out in me next year as well, and not just, like, to keep the momentum going and not burn out. Because what I had in 2017, when I streamed the most that I'd ever streamed before, is I was burnt out from college, and I was able to keep a little bit of streaming momentum going, but most everything else kind of fell by the wayside. And I kind of want to avoid burning out creatively. I know what it's like to be burnt out from stress, and those kinds of things are kind of out of your control, you know? But I'm now getting to the point where I have to think about, like, how to pace myself, and how to not get burnt out creatively, and how to write and write consistently, but not so much that I run out of words. That nearly happened to me when I wrote as many of the dev commentary posts as I did in May, June, July, I think. I was doing like 4 of those a week. And I was doing like 4 of those a week, and I did that for weeks in a row, and it just got to be so much that I fell behind, and I had to take a break for a while when I was like the last 8 posts. So I was so close to the end, and then I had to stop and take a break and pace myself, because I just couldn't keep going. And I'm glad I did. It felt like a failure at the time, but I'm glad I stopped and took a step back, because I really needed that. Hey, Nubet, welcome to the stream. It's good to see you. When Frog says, I always thought it was a little weird that World 1 and 2 and Galaxy 2 have the same map theme until you get 120 stars and then the first map theme changes. It is a little odd. Something tells me the way that game was arranged, a lot of stuff got, like, moved around and rerouted a billion times, and it's possible they added an extra world to it that they weren't expecting to add. Or maybe it's just that, they always wanted you to hear the World 1 and 2 theme, because once one is overwritten, you could... If one had its own theme, once one is overwritten, you could never hear it again. So maybe that was intentional. It is a little odd in execution, but I like all of these map themes. These are some of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. This one especially, when I was going through some rough patches in high school and college, I would put this one on and just lay in bed and relax. And take deep breaths. It's a very calming song for me. It brings me to a good place. Galaxy 2 OST is really good. Yeah, Oh man, Nintendo, why don't you sell your music on streaming services? I would purchase it with real dollars and cents. This is not to say that this music was illegally obtained or anything, certainly not. Actually, I kind of go out of my way to legally obtain as much music as possible where I can. Like, I have a lot of, CD soundtracks from Japan just because they weren't sold in any other way. But also, I have a lot of digital stuff. Sega's real good about putting their OSTs up, so I've got a lot of those. And more so, I just wish Nintendo would put them on streaming services because that's what people use these days, and it's surprising how little of a presence they have on there. I'm sure Nintendo wants to own as much of the pipeline as possible, yada yada yada, corporate bullshit. But it's free money on the table for them to just put the soundtracks on streaming services, I think. Unless there's, like, some sort of licensing thing that I'm not aware of or not understanding, that's something that they could just drop and make passive income on, and because they're Nintendo, it would be a not insubstantial amount. Mario Galaxy 2 is meant to be DLC for Galaxy 1, so anything wrong with Galaxy 2 is probably blamed by that. I don't know, I like the way they kind of expanded it into its own game. It is a little, fillery in terms of, like, story and set pieces, but all of the... playing it is incredible. All of the galaxies are incredible, and all of the new power-ups are great, and what it does for Mario as a gameplay... on a gameplay perspective, is incredible, and the rest of it is just there too. It exists as a vehicle to serve you more of Galaxy. And in that way, it does its job just fine. "3D World feels like it would be Galaxy 3. I've never felt quite the same about that. 3D World definitely is very different from how it plays. On a more of like a meta level, like flagpoles versus stars, blah blah blah, but also like just the way the levels are designed, they're not as open. They're much more straightforward and linear, like classic Mario, and in that way, I like 3D World less as a 3D Mario game and more as a 2D Mario game. In fact, until Wonder came out, I would say that 3D World is my favorite 2D Mario, and I'm not kidding. Just the way that you have just a little bit of openness to walk into and out of the background makes all of the 2D stuff in Mario feel that much more open and alive to me. It's kind of how most Mario games work. They barely have plot. Mario's going to space again? Sure, yeet him up there. I mean, yeah, you're right, but also Galaxy 2 in particular seems more like an afterthought than usual. People have this weird, people have this thing they do where they try to put the Mario games together into a linear plot or whatever, and it just doesn't make sense to me. The games aren't made for that. They're stage plays with your favorite characters that they can remix in various ways, and it's the gameplay that you're here for. It's not the story. If you want a story, you play practically anything else. But for people who maybe, like, grew up with Sunshine or something, which has a surprising amount of, like, dipping its toes into trying to be a story with the new island and Shadow Mario and the graffiti and being framed and all this other shit that happened in the game, EGAD being part of the lore of the universe, the fact that the characters have voice acting, all shit that doesn't happen in any other Mario game. I think anybody who grew up with that may have expectations for the other Mario games that maybe aren't fulfilled in the same way. I don't know. Maybe I'm not putting in the right words. Did you Rose devs really thought about how the cat suit lets you get to places? There are areas where I thought, oh, there's no way they know I can get there, but when I get there, there's coins or a green star or something. It's really surprising, honestly. Yeah, practically everything feels like it could be climbed, even the stuff that looks like the walls go straight up into the ether. It's nice that they thought of those things, and it's nice that they know their mechanics well. They push the levels to their limits, and if they can hide something in a funny place, then they do it. I felt that way about Odyssey, too. Like, some of the places you can get up to, get on top of buildings that look like they're just there for background or decorative purposes. The pyramid in the Sand Kingdom, when you're underground, like the place where the boss arena is, with the funny guy who punches you, but, like, the building you come out of when you approach the boss arena, if you look back up at it, you can actually climb all the way back up, and there's this huge stack of coins up there, and it's a really fun climb for being that early in the game. It's a really challenging one, too, and that was a highlight of the early game for me, was trying to get up there over and over again. Yeah, Mario games in general are really good about that. They know the boundaries of where you can and can't get to. If you can't get somewhere, it will be very obvious. There will be an invisible wall, or your climbing ability will just stop suddenly well before it's supposed to, or you just get up on the terrain and you slide down it, you know, things like that. And thinking about it, like, thinking about what we're getting to, we're about to play more Kirby. And Kirby's never really had to do things in that way, like, Kirby's been a very 2D series, and everything in 2D games is very, like, hand-designed in a way that sometimes 3D stuff can leave, like, oversights and things like that. In 3D worlds, Mario 3D World, it's like, all of those things that look like they could be oversights, like Nubet was saying, were very intentionally designed. There's coins up in those spaces, or you can get to them and there's a reward for you, or a way that it gets you back. Kirby's never had to deal with that because it's never been a 3D series until now. And so I've never really thought to try and get out of the bounds of Forgotten Land as much as maybe some people have. Some people who are, like, more used to other 3D games, but maybe not as used to Kirby. I'm so used to Kirby that I just play it normally. But I did try to get out of bounds in, like, the demo, the very early demo of Forgotten Land. I got up on a building, and I tried to get up there, and I thought there might be a Howler Room up there, but there wasn't. And, what I realized then is how much HAL designed some areas to just be climbable and have a funny little coin at the top. So it's neat that HAL also took those lessons, but maybe there's less of them, or I just can't find them or something. One thing I like about 3D World is if you're good, you can get almost anywhere without the cat power. Interesting. I don't think I've thought of it that way, but I would love to see some things that are climbable without it one day. Maybe I'll look into that sometime. Alright, that's enough music and that's enough talking. Let's get to Kirby! Today we're gonna finish Forgotten Land for good this time, all the extra modes and everything too. Let's do it. That's the wrong button for my monitor. There we go.